evening, Carter, the Power Bryant. What's up?
Man, Blake, I'm so excited that LSU still has the magic in Tiger Stadium. And with all this analysis that we're about to go through, I want every LSU fan to know that they were such a big difference. And the noise in that stadium was so freaking good. And I know a lot of us can have a conversation. Why did everyone leave before the fourth quarter in a close game, SEC game? Well, the key thing was in the third quarter, all that noise, forcing those timeouts to be burned, which allowed Brian Kelly to navigate the clock the way that he was able to at the end of the game. So before we get into it,
Why are people mad at him about that? By the way,
it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. When the opposing team's quarterback had not been stopped, why not play to where he can't get back on the field? And he only had one play.
Carter, did you hear the people in the media today saying, why don't he just go out there and take a knee?
That's so that is
it's so stupid.
It was lunacy. Like, I don't know how he could have played the clock any better than he did. And what I think happened with this, discourse, Blake, is LSU fans have so much residual from the Les Miles tenure and just seeing clock.
Get over it, right?
Yeah. And it's like, do you really not think Brian Kelly knows how to handle a clock situation better than Les Miles? So I think he handled that situation perfectly, and he took advantage of KJ Jefferson and Arkansas burning those timeouts.
Paul Skenes is a PHLer now, I hear, per sources, actually, per Paul. So I saw the photo. I might have texted a couple of sources. I was like, big guy, this is my dude here. He goes, yeah, I'm wearing the bracelet. That's what I heard.
Skenes said that? That's cool, man. That's cool.
I didn't say Skenes. I just said, a source.
Yeah. I will. Okay. Let me say.
I heard that Paul Skenes is a PHLer. That's what I heard.
I'm still on cloud nine about that. Like, I really am. Like, first off, my wife is an absolutely massive Paul Skenes fan, and I want to tell you something about the photo. Okay, this is how much of a gentleman Paul Skenes was. So we took the photo, and he's just trying to enjoy himself. Obviously, I'm a huge fan. I know you did a ton of baseball content. I did a lot of hype videos. This is the only chance, that he's probably going to get back to Tiger Stadium, because once a professional career gets going and he becomes like a multiple Cy Young winner, your life changes, right? When he's going to be great at the next level. So obviously really excited. Obviously, like Travis Kelce dating someone more famous than him, ironically. And it's crazy because before he took the photo, of course, my wife was to the far right. He asked, hey, is it okay if I put my arm around you before I take this photo? And I was like, I'm serious. That's what my wife said. I was like, that is like probably the most gentleman thing. Because, you always just assume.
Dude, he's a dude. Like, people do not understand how much of a dude Paul Skenes is.
Like, he's great. Like, the interaction was just great.
I heard that Paul Skenes held a newborn one time, or I should say a baby one time, and like was asking for permission. I was like, not only do you, if I were the parent, I just would have said something like, not only can you pick up the baby, can you sign him? You know what I mean? Like, can you sign him? We'll get the babies that an early tattoo or something. Anyway, all right, we're not going to talk about that content. Carter, I'm going to show you something, okay? Because you're a very analytical dude.
Okay.
After week 4, I talk about by the numbers. When I show you this, what goes through your mind? Now, everybody listening on the podcast, it's what I talked about earlier, the by the numbers offense and defense. Carter, what's your thoughts when you see something like that?
Okay, so a lot of people will look at that and look at it very negatively, and it is, right? You don't want the defense to be that far behind the offense. But if you go through and look at Dave Aranda's numbers while he was at LSU, his yard per play numbers were in the 50s, and LSU's yard per play numbers was in the top 5. So if there is a positive way to look at that, Blake, it's the fact that your offense being better than your defense is the way you want things to be, right? I will also say this, Blake. The defense was once again unacceptably bad. Now, as someone who truly believes that KJ Jefferson is special, I'm a little bit more sympathetic because you're going up against a great quarterback. And he was dealing. He just had a really freaking good game. But at the same time, Blake, the mistakes that the LSU defense made just made everything that much more worse. And
Right.
of it is scheme, and part of it are the players, okay? And when I tell you that 2-point conversion, I know we're focusing a lot on Zy Alexander's mistake.
God, the 2-point conversion was probably the worst play, man.
It was the worst LSU defensive play up to this point in the season. I can live sort of with guys just getting beat if, Keon Coleman's beating you on a jump ball. Okay, I could kind of live with that. If you go look at and you can go to the PHL film so you can look at it for yourself. I was able to shoot that play from a higher all 22 angle on my phone, and my jaw was dropped when there were 3 guys open in the end zone on the play. It's do or die. You know that they have to cross that line for them to potentially score. That is a sign that the situationally we're not calling great plays. Once again, Blake, something that you've harped on quite a bit. The third down defense, Arkansas 8 of 13, was pitiful. This is rot, if you ask me. And what I mean by that is it's rot in that we're not obviously making a lot of plays. There's not a whole lot of guys just going out there outside of Andre Sam, Jordan Jefferson, and a few others. Swinson had a really good game. But it's also a scheme. The scheme's not really making a whole lot of sense, especially in a situation where they have to get into the end zone.
I just don't get, I don't understand what he's trying to do in Matt House. Like, I get what you're trying to do in the sense of you don't want to get beat with explosive plays. And I understand it's more of a bend, don't break. But Carter, at some point, this cannot continue, and you think that you can go to the places that you think that you can go. Now, you bring this stat up I don't want to say a lot, but you brought it up a fair amount. These next 2 weeks are away games for LSU. Yeah. And the only teams in the SEC in the last 20 years that have won back-to-back road games have been 2019 LSU and 2022 Georgia. Are you that disciplined and good defensively to where if Jane Daniels in this offense doesn't bail you out again to some extent, you could easily lose one of these next 2 games, Carter? It would be an anomaly if 2019 LSU did it, 2022 Georgia did it. Are you expecting 2023 LSU to do it with this defense?
No, it's going to be really hard. And look, I did a video on this back in February. When I saw the schedule, I was like, okay, that Missouri game is going to be hell. I know it's going to be at 11 a.m.
Carter, they're going to be 5-0 going into Como at 11 a.m. Missouri's going to be 5-0.
And Ole Miss is a night game, so you're going to have a little bit of late travel coming back. So yes, and honestly, at this point, if you're an LSU fan, you just need to cross your fingers that Jaden and Malik can bail you out, basically.
And Brian Thomas and Chris Hilton. At some point, Chris Hilton's going to appear because he's going to have to.
Yeah. But I think, before we get into the offensive side of things, LSU has been exceptional in 2 of the 3 phases. So it helps that the special teams has been really good up to this point. It helps that Jaden, outside of a really rough first half, was great in the second half. And it helps that Malik and Brian Thomas Jr. have become the best 1-2 combo in the SEC and maybe all of college football at wide receiver. So when your offense is playing that well, it can bail you out. You can go and win these games. But at some point defensively, they've got to get better. And like we said, it's rot. And I hate to say that. It's coaching and it's players, and also individually, situationally, I think LSU's defense needs to play a little bit smarter. So hopefully those things happen. And one more thing on the defense that the film will show you, but the stats don't, Blake, is they were also very lucky that it didn't get worse, right? Luke Haas, to start the game, the tight end that killed us, he was an inch away from scoring a touchdown, and that was a 4-point swing.
Which, if Major does not come up with that hit, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble early in that game. So it is a major issue, and a lot of difficult questions need to be asked. Someone mentioned in the chat, where's LaTerrence Welsh? Where's this guy? Where's that guy? And Brian Kelly was asked in the press conference today, hey, personnel-wise, do you feel like you've maxed out? And BK said, well, I feel like the guys that have played are guys. LSU needs to get healthier, but at the same time, they need to get better. And once again, to spin it just a little bit positively here, Blake, is it does help that Whit Weeks is starting to come into his own. It does help that Braden Swinson is starting to flash.
They're not playing Swinson enough. They're not playing Womack enough. They're not playing Jefferson enough.
Yeah, I think at this point, you just got to play more guys until you get some people out there that need to be more consistent. And you also just need your elite players to play better. This was, Wingo had another good game. I don't think he was necessarily elite. Mason Smith, obviously, he's played a lot of double teams. He's going to have to play better. You need Harold Perkins to play better. You need Denver Harris to play better. You need these guys that came in with a lot of hype, a lot of stars to play better, and hopefully some regression to the positive is going to happen.
Carter, I don't blame Harold Perkins. He's playing like a box safety. I don't give two Rudy Poos that he's over the tackle or not, because when it comes down to schematics, if you're keeping him out in the flat, you're blitzing him late off the edge. Their argument is that he's a liability in the run game, which I agree. He's a liability in the run game. But you know who else is a liability in the run game? Everybody else has been a liability in the run game.
Yeah.
I mean, so what's your argument if everybody else is a liability? Oh, well, we can't put Harold Perkins there. Did you see what Georgia did to him last year? He was 195 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah. I mean, he's changed.
So you're going to have to – I don't care what anybody tells me. LSU is a couple schematical things away that I think that defensively they can turn it around.
And Rocket Sanders didn't play. And now you got Quinshawn Judkins.
Carter, if he would have, you would have gotten your ass beat.
Yeah, he's a pretty good football player, but Quinshawn Judkins is better. And
that O-line, they can't run the football.
Yeah,
Ole Miss cannot run the football. What do you make about that?
I agree to what you said earlier on Twitter. Lane has obviously gotten pretty frustrated, and I'll go on to say this as well. There is a benefit that a lot of offensive lines in the SEC are struggling. And LSU's offensive line has played mostly good, if you ask me.
Frazier, hello. Welcome to the SEC. Carter, Lance Hurt didn't play Saturday.
Yeah. Miles deserves a lot of credit. I mentioned this, in the post game. Obviously, you and I were critical of him. And obviously, a lot of us on Twitter and social media were like, well, Miles didn't play well versus Florida State. It's important to do the reciprocal of that as well. Give him credit when he's playing well, because that's unfair to him if you're going to trash him when he plays bad. Right. And I'm glad you brought him up because he deserves a lot of praise. There's nothing like when you are told, hey, we're starting to think about doing something else, and your rear end's going to be on the bench. I mean, and he's kicked it into another gear, and he's playing some really good football right now.
So offensively, Carter, Am I wrong in saying that people are being a little too nitpicky?
About what in particular?
I get that Jaden had a bad half. Okay. He still had a freaking amazing game.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. Jaden's first half before the final drive was very bad. It was. But
I can't agree with that being very bad because the corner jumped the route.
No. It wasn't just that. The first throw of of the game to BTJ. I think he should have just ripped the RPO. He paused it and he almost got strip sacked. And then the interception was because
if my aunt had a penis, she'd be my uncle. I don't care about almost.
Okay. And then the interception, if was because on the play before, he forced Malik Nabers to lose his feet. If he hit him in stride, Malik probably catches that and he probably scores. It's him versus Hudson Clark, a safety. So look, I'm just pointing that out, and that's why Brian Kelly.
They said that they changed to only hand signals after the Nudie pick,
and
after the McLaughlin pick, they said that he knew what they called.
And McLaughlin, and I honestly, the McLaughlin interception didn't really bother me too much because he is just a turnover machine. He's just really good at that.
Boy, could you not use him?
Yeah, he would be very helpful. So for Jaden Sanders, it was to me just bad. But when it mattered at the end of the second quarter and in the second half, he was pretty flawless. He only had one miss in my estimation in the second half, period. And
yeah, the thing at the end of the half, Brian Kelly somewhat kind of talked about that today on the timing thing. He said, I told him to throw it away.
Throw it. Okay.
To Nabers at the end of the game.
You should throw it away.
He said, if you don't feel comfortable, throw it away. Like that's a throwaway. I mean, the truth, what PFF would have adjusted, Carter, he went perfect in the second half.
Right. He had one miss, and that's
one miss.
And he was fantastic. And that's Jaden, man. He like Will Campbell said in an interview, he doesn't flinch. He's clutch more often than not. So obviously after the slow start, and he was fantastic. And honestly, Blake, as great as Jaden was, Malik is the straw that stirs the drink, man. It is just amazing what he did to Arkansas's defense throughout the night. Not only when he got the football, but opening up other people and all the coverage that he's drawing. It is truly breathtaking. I get chills thinking about it. And one thing I really liked, and
he's doing what Kayshawn should have done all last year. Let's call it what it is.
And on top of that, one thing that Brian Kelly said today that I felt was a little under the radar, wasn't even one of the top 5 most newsworthy thing. Someone asked about Malik Nabers being moved around. I thought how Brian Kelly talked about his football IQ. And that's the most underrated thing about Malik Nabers. He knows how to play every position, really doesn't have a whole lot of weaknesses. When he doesn't get the ball, he's always running his routes really hard, and that opens up other people. Not all wide receivers are like that. You just turn on the film when on Sundays, there's some guys that pound and moan and don't run the routes when they know that they're not going to be the primary.
Okay,
It is amazing what this guy has done this season. It is truly amazing. And at this point, I would say, and look, there's plenty of guys you can mention here, but I think he's a Blitnikoff winner at this point. I think he's been the best wide receiver in college football. And it's just ridiculous how good he is at almost everything. And I know we're focusing on the touchdowns. Those were really good plays, but it's really still fighting people for comeback routes and making difficult catches there. It was Jaden on 3rd and 4 at the final drive of the game, ripping that ball. And this was one of Jaden's best throws. He threw it before Malik even got any separation. And he just trusted Malik to beat Dwight McLaughlin there. It gives me chills when you watch it because you are watching truly something special if you are an LSU fan.
Before we get to Wade, how do you preview this Ole Miss game? What do you think?
Yeah, I think Ole Miss, obviously coming off a loss, the Alabama game was a huge disappointment. They just could not get anything going offensively. I think for me, Jackson Dart is very good in a lot of different ways, but I don't think he's great at any one thing. And like you said, Blake, the offensive line is just not where it needs to be. And I haven't done a full rewatch of the entire game. I'm probably going to do that tomorrow. But at this point, they're a very good SEC team that got a very lucky result versus Tulane and had, some moments versus Georgia Tech in a game that Georgia Tech probably should have covered. So Ole Miss is a very good team. I think the point spread is pretty fair. And I think at this point, I feel pretty good about LSU going in there and getting the W.
How about this? Here's a stat for you bettors out there. You ready?
Let's hear it.
Heard this from, I don't remember where I heard this from, or I give it credit, or where I saw it, or I give it credit to. Did you know that Lane Kiffin in his head coaching career is 1-19 versus teams that win 9 games a year, win 9 games in that season?
I love it. That's I think you heard it from me, because that's the stat I shared last night, and that was actually looked up by my friend Shehan Jayaraja of CBS. He's not good in big games.
So let's say that again. He's 1-19 against teams that have 9-win seasons.
Basically, yes.
He ain't, bro. If he were anywhere else, he'd be fired.
I don't know if fired is the right word, but I do think he is a great play caller. I do think when you have a coach that's always kind of one foot out the door, it could be very difficult. It really can. And the thing is, I mean, last year he got blown out by Arkansas. He just had some no-shows towards the end of the year. Texas Tech blew him out. I just think that he loses it on the sideline. You saw last year versus LSU. I mean, there was a few plays where a throw was missed here or anything, and he just gets out of sorts. He's obviously very talented. He's one of the best play callers of the modern era. But Blake, I just don't trust Lane to win a big game. I just don't.
Well, if he's gonna win one, I hope it ain't against us.
No, yeah. I mean, can they win? Absolutely, they're a good team, but LSU is better. And
I just want you to be focused, Carter. You know what I mean? Like, I want them to go in there defensively, giving a shit. I mean, did they overlook Arkansas to some extent?
Not necessarily, Blake, but I do think if you're Matt House, what I would do is when your defense is struggling, one of the best things to do is just scrap everything you know and try something new schematically. Like,
oh, you mean like what LSU did with Durante Jones?
Right. And it worked. So
because when you get pressure after the quarterback.
So you want them to blitz more.
It's not necessarily blitz. It's where you're sending the pressures from. Everybody and their mother knows that you're sending Harold Perkins when he's in the slot. Either he's going to go out in the flat or he's going to come down and blitz. You at this point, you just know. Or he's lining up on the edge and he's going to come after you. At this point, Carter, it is, I mean, he's doing nothing else.
Yeah.
You're going to have to twist him. Like, if Mason Smith is going to take the double team, loop Harold Perkins around and let him come through the interior. Do something. As they said on Remember the Titans, push him, pull him, do something.
I do want to say one thing about House. Okay. Do I think he has mostly been fine at LSU? Yes, I think so. What I would say though is before he got to LSU, and Blake, you saw my deep dive on it at the time. He was a defensive coordinator for 5 seasons, and he had one good year in those 5 seasons. And so far at LSU, he was good last year. I wouldn't say he was elite last year. He was good. And so far this year, he has been not so great. And this also concerns me, Blake, is the games that you would consider his worst games were the final 2 games. Okay. So maybe there is something that is being tipped. Maybe there is something that people have figured out.
Because I talked to a coach in the SEC last night, and he said, Blake, everybody in America knows what Harold Perkins is doing. I stole the take from him. He goes, Blake, I watched LSU's highlight film, just highlights, because I don't have time to break their film right now. And you know what he told me? I know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah,
I heard from an Arkansas source today that in the second half, you know what their adjustment was? It was revolved around Harold Perkins. Because they're running the same coverages over and over and over again based off of what number 4 is doing. Carter,
Yeah.
if Sam Pittman, Big Milkers Pittman, can figure out at halftime what is going on, then you got it. You think that Lane isn't?
Oh God,
Did I not have called him big Milkers?
I mean, it's they're
them things thangin'.
They thing. No,
you think you got some lemony twang up in them things?
Yeah, it's a compliment, honestly. I mean, goodness gracious,
my man's got milkers. All right,
but no, you are right. I think obviously, Brian Kelly did some very schematic types of breakdowns in today's today's press conference, and yeah, I mean, there was just some very simple things that they ran to get open, and they were easy, right? The thing that really got me angry was the split zone stuff. If they almost scored on it again, if they almost scored on it early in the game, don't you think that they're going to come back to that in the red zone when their wide receivers weren't really just getting open all night? It's an issue. It's a major issue.
All right, before I get you out of here, Wade says on YouTube, sends a $9.99 super chat, says, who are we talking about on this defense at the end of the year?
So, you know, it's funny. I actually met Wade this weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Bought me a lemony twang drink, man. He showed up, man. Got to meet his family. He's awesome. Awesome guy.
You're just so nice to people that they buy you drinks. When they see me, they're throwing beer bottles at me.
I know. I would do the same next time.
Especially guys that have like high school beards that go across their chin.
Right. The thing I don't get, you see, your beard is committed, right? If you have one of those,
also committed to LSU.
Yeah,
my beard needs its own NIL deal.
I will tell you this: if your beard has patches, like just little splotches, just shave that thing, man. I saw a few of those this weekend. It's just time to give that up.
Yeah,
man.
Be like Elsa and let it go. Who are we talking about at the end of this? Who are we talking about? You know who my number one pick is? I got to see more Jordan Jefferson. I got to.
Yeah, he's played really well. I will go with the guy who had the best high school film, and that is Whit Weeks. And we have already seen him do really good things for the LSU defense. So I'm going to go Whit Weeks, and I'm also going to go Andre Sam. Andre playing some pretty good football. Always can be better, can be a better tackler in the open field, but he's doing some really good things now.
I was told by a source today that not Jordan Tolles. He wears 21 now, and I always think Jordan
Ryan
Tolles.
Yates.
Ryan Yates. Expect more Ryan Yates.
Yes, I think someone else needs to rotate.
So look, I watched the all 22 copy today. Ryan Yates is so fundamentally correct. It is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Carter, he didn't give up anything, and he had the exact right reads. He had a post corner run on him. He goes to the post because the corner is okay. He got beat, and then he comes off of the post to go down to the corner.
Let's go, Yates. Let's go 2-1. Let's do it, man.
All right. Dane Bergeron says blitz and stunt the hell out of them. Tired of the soft defense.
Let's see it. Okay.
Stephen Young says House has corners who are true man corners that haven't mastered zone yet. Play more man coverage in the backfield. Also, Lane won't expect it. What do you think?
Yeah. Okay. So really quickly, Ole Miss had a lot of offensive success when we did play soft. And if you go listen to the Brian Kelly press conference, he said after the game last year that they actually decided to play a little bit more aggressive in that game. So it is very interesting that the super chatter brought that up. Shout out to Dane and everybody that's supporting Blake, goes a long way. But the second thing, Blake, that is so key is defensively, the super chatter mentioned that the man coverage assignments. Guys are still getting beat. Okay, so let's take
Carter, the truth is I keep hearing this about Denver Harris. He's still getting beat in man-to-man coverage.
Yes, he's still getting beat. And I guess the retort to that would be, well, we just need to let him play press and not have him play 7 or 8 yards off. And that could be, plausible. Sure, let's try it. I'm open to trying anything. But it is important to note the Andre Sam interception that Brian Kelly actually broke down on film today on Twitter was a really, really freaking difficult play by Andre Sam. But on that play, Denver Harris got turned around really badly. Now, the route was really good. Ask any receiver, he attacked his blind spot. It's a tough play, but it was bad. It wasn't totally on Denver. You would think that there would be a safety back there, but he did get turned around on that play. So yeah, he's got to play better because LSU's not trying a whole lot of new people at corner. Deuce Chestnut came into the game, got beat on a touchdown, got called back for holding. It's been tough. It's been really tough.
Do you have like 5 more minutes?
Yeah, we can hang for a little bit. Let's do it.
Okay, just one more question. Why do you continue to run Deuce Chestnut out there instead of LaTerrence Welsh?
I don't know, Blake. That just happens to be one of those things where you just kind of sort of have to be there every single day to think that.
True. But right. You know what I also know? Carter, if he's gonna give it up anyway, these kids that are at practice that may just be gamers.
Right.
He's giving it up anyway. If he's gonna give it up anyway and they score, what in the flying fuck does it matter? That's what I don't get.
I agree. I just think you just got to empty the cupboard and just see if there is somebody on this team that could play corner. Maybe it's a wide receiver at this point. I don't know. I don't think you need to go.
And you and I both know because this was on the TV copy. You go watch it. When Deuce Chestnut got beat, Brian Kelly was as purple as the LSU uniform with white helmets. Okay, because he allows his coaches to use and do different things personnel-wise, and he doesn't micromanage. Okay,
right.
Saban is the same exact way. Kirby is the same exact way. I thought that he was going to have a heart attack when Deuce Chestnut got into the game. I really did on that TV copy. I don't think that that's on him, but right. I do think that there's going to have to be a meeting. Guys, should we run number 5 out there? Should we run him out there?
Hell, you gave him a single digit. Give him a chance. Let him go. Let him go. I do want to. I know we're coming up to the end here, but I do want to make one thing. It's kind of along the lines of the Miles Frazier thing, and that Mike Denbrock I felt called his best game at LSU this past weekend. I truly do believe it. The sequencing, the coming back to a play that worked earlier and getting it going in crunch time when he motioned Malik to the slot and they ran the same exact route concept that they did in the first quarter, and it was really a thing of beauty. Mike called one hell of a football
game. It was the best game that he's called as an LSU Tiger.
Easily. I was and it could and look, Blake, it could just be me because I was there and I was able to see all the guys on the field at once. So, I'm looking for the safeties. I'm trying to look at the things that, you normally can't see. And I filmed a good bit of the LSU offense from the All-22. But, Blake, I cannot say enough good things about Denbrock. I've always seen
it's interesting. Remember a guy who was on the show with you and said that he gets chills thinking about what he thinks Mike Denbrock could do here?
Yeah, it was you, man. I give you a lot of credit. He was awesome. Like and look, it helps having Malik Nabers. Malik does so many good things. We've not talked about Logan Diggs. Logan is playing at such a high level. Caleb had some good runs as well. So yeah, the
only thing that I would say, the first half when you see that Jaden is struggling to get into a rhythm, you got to run the ball more.
Right, especially when Arkansas was giving you a lot of too high.
Boxes,
no, I agree.
Right.
Yeah,
that'd be the only thing. All right. the most electric segment in LSU.